The journey began before dawn broke over Anhui province in eastern China. A small bus carried a group of travelers from Tungxi town to the entrance of the renowned Huangshan scenic area. I sat quietly, peering through the fogged-up window as faint silhouettes of mountains emerged from the morning mist. My heart stirred with anticipation and excitement because today, I would embark on a pilgrimage to Tiandu Peak, one of the 3 legendary summits of Huangshan, known as the Stairway to Heaven. Even from the entrance, the stone steps curling up along the mountainside seemed to invite me into a mystical world. Early morning mist blanketed the trails. Ancient pine trees stretched through the fog like celestial guardians of the mountain. Groups of hikers, each moving steadily along the trail, formed a rhythmic procession of quiet determination. I joined them, my breath deepening with each step, fully aware that I was about to confront one of the most breathtaking and physically demanding experiences of my life. Tiandu Peak, also known as Heavenly Capital Peak, is not the tallest summit of Huangshan, but it is undoubtedly the most challenging. Rising to an elevation of approximately 1,810 meters above sea level, Tiandu's steep, narrow stone steps are not for the faint of heart. This is the peak whereof meets sky, where hikers seem to ascend not just a mountain, but into the very clouds themselves. The locals call the path Stairway to Heaven, and it truly lives up to that name. Each step forward requires balance, focus, and endurance, but every glance backward rewards you with vistas more sublime than the last. The most intimidating section is a stretch known as Bai Buyun Ti, literally 100-step cloud ladder. Looking up from the base, the stairs seem endless, vanishing into the heavens. As I climbed, my muscles burned and sweat streamed down my face, but fatigue was always outweighed by awe. The view behind me transformed with each pause, ridges rising from oceans of mist, towering rocks sculpted by wind and rain, ancient pine trees growing defiantly from cliffside crevices. Nature here was not passive, it was alive, powerful, and sacred. Along the way, I encountered travelers from around the globe. A Japanese grandmother in her 70s climbed slowly but steadily with the aid of a walking stick. Young couples whispered encouragement to each other. There were even seasoned mountaineers, outfitted with gear, moving like part of the mountain itself. Despite our differences in language and origin, we were united by a single purpose: to reach the summit of Tiandu and touch the heavens. At times, I had to stop to rest. Sitting on a flat rock beside a narrow ledge, I gazed down into the abyss below. One side held a sheer cliff, the other side, a cloud ocean flowing silently across peaks. I felt suspended between 2 worlds. The wind whispered through the mountain passes, rustling leaves and chimes left behind by travelers. It was a symphony composed by nature and time, echoing through stone and soul. As I neared the summit, sunlight began piercing through the clouds, casting golden light on the rocks and pine trees. Tiandu Peak finally appeared before me after nearly 4 hours of climbing, a jagged stone platform jutting out from the mountain like the bow of a ship above the sea of mist. Above was endless blue sky. Below, clouds swirled like waves. I stood at the edge, arms outstretched, breathing deeply the crisp mountain air. In that moment, I felt weightless, freed from the worries and distractions of everyday life. It was a triumph not just of the body, but of the spirit. I sat on the edge of the peak to eat a simple lunch I had packed: a few pieces of bread, a bottle of water, and a single apple. Somehow, under the open sky, everything tasted better. Birds circled lazily above, seemingly undisturbed by human presence. Far away, mountain ridges rolled like a stone sea, fading into the distant horizon. This wasn't just a physical destination, it was a spiritual awakening. I lingered at the summit, reluctant to leave such a place of beauty and silence, but eventually, I began the descent. Though gravity made the journey easier in one sense, the steepness of Tiandu Peak meant every step required caution. Knees strained, and the narrow paths demanded careful attention. I stopped frequently to stretch and to take in the different angles of the view, which seemed even more impressive now that I was on the way down. One resting point along the trail, Heaven Viewing Terrace, offered a sweeping view of the surrounding ranges. There, I watched a local artist sketch the landscape with traditional Chinese ink. With just a few fluid strokes, he captured the soul of the mountain, the mist, the ancient trees, the towering stone cliffs. I stood silently, deeply moved by the harmony between humanity and the raw magnificence of nature. Continuing down, I crossed several narrow stone bridges suspended between cliffs. One of the most famous was the White Cloud Bridge, which often disappears into the mist. Stepping across it, I truly felt like I was walking in the sky. On either side, gnarled pines clung stubbornly to stone faces, many of them centuries old. Their roots, twisted deep into rock, spoke of resilience, of survival in the harshest conditions. They stood as natural monuments to perseverance. Finally reaching the lower station near the base of the mountain, I found myself a quiet spot under an old pine tree. Sitting down, exhausted but fulfilled, I took a long, slow breath. My body was sore, my legs heavy, but my mind had never felt so clear. Climbing a mountain, I realized, is not just about elevation, it's a metaphor for life. The challenges, the moments of self-doubt, the glimpses of beauty along the way, and ultimately, the reward of reaching something greater than yourself. I remembered an inscription carved into a stone slab on the way up. To reach Tiandu, one must first endure hardship. How true it was. Only by confronting difficulty could one truly appreciate the view from the top. Tiandu Peak was more than a destination, it was a teacher, imparting wisdom through stone and silence. Before leaving the area, I stopped by a small tea shop near the base of the trail. The owner was an elderly man, silver-haired but sharp-eyed. He poured me a cup of chrysanthemum tea and said he had lived by Huangshan all his life. People come here for different reasons, he told me. Some want to test their strength, others want peace. But they all leave with something sacred and new clarity. Those words stayed with me as I boarded the return bus. The mountain faded behind layers of mist, but its imprint remained deep within. Though I had left Tiandu, the summit would forever reside in my memory, symbolizing the beauty of overcoming limits and the serenity found in the highest places.